I'm always a fan of privately owned companies, to be honest. Look at just how well Steam is doing, right? Because they're not publicly traded. One of the biggest fears I've seen on the internet in the last few days is just a lot of people are just, for some reason, it blew up that people are saying Gavin's getting old in age and so he's not always going to be around. What happens when he's gone?
Hey, middle-aged gamers, we have some breaking news, very sad news. So I'm not going to talk anymore. Adam, what happened when we woke up here in Taiwan?
Annapurna Interactive, everybody left. Everybody, all 25 members of the staff. So what happened was they were in negotiations with Annapurna Studios, who is their parent company. And the idea was that they were going to spin off into their own independent entity. They were going to become Annapurna Interactive was going to become its own thing. And Nathan Gary, who I believe is the president of president of Annapurna Interactive, we're working with Megan Ellison, who is the owner of Annapurna Studio, and they couldn't come to an agreement on how this was going to be done. So Ellison pulled out of the negotiations. And after that, everybody on the Annapurna Interactive staff said, that's it, fine, okay, we're just going to leave then. And they all left, which obviously has thrown Annapurna Studios and Annapurna Interactive into mass chaos. People are like, wait, what about all these games that you guys have published? Like, what happens to those? What happens to all these projects that we're currently working on? A lot of people are talking about Control 2. Is that going to be delayed? What's going to happen? Because obviously there's nobody in the office to deal with these things. So a spokesperson came out and said that, don't worry, all of these games that have been or are currently under Annapurna will remain under Annapurna. We are going to continue owning all these properties, so we're going to take care of that. I guess they got a new president to step up. His name is Hector Sanchez, and he has told developers not to worry because we are going to replace all staff who have left. We will be back to operation status soon. Because there's just a lot of confusion behind that, because it's one thing to say lay off some people. It's that whole ship of Theseus thing, right? Am I pronouncing that right? Where the guy sets sail, and over the course of his journey, he's replacing planks of his ship, and when he returns home, every plank has been replaced. Is it the same ship that left, or is it a different ship at this point? This isn't that situation. This is you leave, and then you get there, you sink the first ship, you get an entirely second ship. And then you come back and you rebuild it from scratch, and then you say, okay, is that the same ship? Like there's nobody there to mentor new people and show them like, this is how this works, or this is how this is done. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be quite the headache to get this going again, and seeing people trying to figure out what was the guy who replaced me doing, because I don't have anybody telling me what's on this computer. Expect some growing pains there for a while. Yeah, we'll see how long it takes for them to get back on their feet. But Annapurna Studio is still running, obviously. So I don't know. Maybe they have some people that were in communication with the Annapurna Interactive staff that can help that a bit. I'm not quite sure. This is all very new to me. I'm scrambling to get my head around it myself. What do you guys think?
It really feels like some kind of poker gamble. Okay, negotiation are not going the way we want. Okay, let's all leave. And then when you are in deep the rest, right? Then you will have no choice but to call us back and accept our terms. And on the other side, say, I think I'm going to play by your rule now. You left, okay, fair enough. I'm going to replace you all. And now I can feel that there's 25 people who left their job and say, maybe the gamble didn't pay off and now we are jobless, without any benefit of getting fired from a job or something like this. It really feels this way. I hope they planned their move before that, because otherwise it's a very sad story for all of these people. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out, but
I'll fill you guys in, which I did not realize. When I saw the story and Adam mentioned, I'm like, Megan Ellison. What does that sound? I'm like, Larry Ellison. I'm like, oh my God, she's Larry Ellison's daughter, right? The third richest person in the world. Larry Ellison's current fortune at $191 billion. And not to mention, she's a famous movie director. She directed Zero Dark 30. She directed Phantom Threads and Hollywood Hustle. I already forgot the name of that. I don't watch movies anymore. American Hustle, that's what it's called. But super famous. Like, this seems like a strange move, because in the articles I read, because I was looking at this story, I'm like, yes, we have to talk about this today. and it was like they were negotiating something. And to me, it makes it seem like were they negotiating a union? Because I tried to find articles, I couldn't figure out, unless maybe you guys heard of it. What were they negotiating? And to me, it seems like it's either they were negotiating forming like a workers' union or something. Number two could be that they were negotiating a general pay raise to account for inflation and other factors, which is what a lot of people want these days. Hey, prices have gone up around the world, food is more expensive, we need more money. And maybe that failed. And so they're like, yeah. But I was telling Adam about this. To me, this sounds like what happened with Humble Bundle Games, where Humble Bundle Games shut down. There's still Humble Bundle, the company, or the Humble company still exists, but the gaming division is gone. And with that is a similar situation where all the places that were working with Humble Games now have nowhere to go, right? Coral Island, the game I'm absolutely loving, they don't have a way to publish a Nintendo version of Coral Island, which is what I kickstarted 3 years ago, because you need a publisher to interact with Nintendo. You can't do it on your own. You don't have the money or the financial resources or the know-how. I don't know what it is. I think there were issues with PlayStation as well. Like without Humble Bundle between the developer and PlayStation, now that there's an issue with updating the game on PlayStation. To me, Annapurna this is not going to be a small issue. They're like, yeah, it's going to run normal. I don't think it's going to run normal. I think you're going to see games come out and say, hey, we're sorry, we don't have any way to update our PlayStation game. In the case of Stray or something, or hey, we're working on Stray 2, but it's not going to happen anymore, or we're going to delay it 6 months until Annapurna Interactive is up and running again. I don't know. It feels weird. I think it feels like unless Annapurna Interactive was losing money, and that's entirely possible given the economics of game development these days, it doesn't make sense to fire people unless they were making totally unreasonable demands.
Yeah, what it looks like, what Bloomberg reported was that they were actually in negotiations to create a spinoff. So they were going to basically become independent of Annapurna Studios. So Annapurna Interactive was going to become its own thing and be independent. But yeah, I guess they didn't find a way to agree to do that. They were just like, nope, maybe Annapurna Studios wanted to maintain some level of control, or we don't know what the issue was, but it does seem like it was the Annapurna Studios, the parent company side, that backed out first. And yeah, maybe the staff at Annapurna Interactive was saying, hey, you know what? We were planning on leaving you anyway. That was the idea. We wanted to become independent. You're not going to let us become independent, so we're going to just become independent and just not take any of our stuff with us. We're just going to take the people. So who knows? Maybe they're planning on starting a new company with the same staff. But they lose all those IPs. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where this goes, for sure.
Totally agree. Antoine, what is happening on your side of the world?
All right, today I chose to talk about Borderlands movie because it's coming out of cinemas this week. And as it has been extremely criticized as the worst gaming adaptation on the big screen. It has costed about 110 to 120 million to make, and it only came back with a 30 million receipt in cinema, which is a catastrophe and extremely bad for the industry and this kind of adaptation. So I'm going to do a very short critique of it. First of all, I want to say that before talking about it, I watched a lot of reviews of these critics. Just for you to know, on Rotten Tomatoes, it's at 10%. So it's really not fresh. And it seems like there's people just riding a wave of going with the public consensus that this movie is the worst ever. So let me put it right away, right here in front of you. That's not true. Clearly not. And you can argue with me. I'll be very happy to do it with you. But if you critique this movie without playing the game, which is my feeling on a lot of these critics out there, if you just look criticizing the movie on itself, yes, it's a terrible movie, right? But you need to have played the game first. Even if you play the game, yes, okay, calm down. It's not a movie of the century. It's not even a good movie. It's an okay movie when you put your brain on the side and watch it, and that's fine for me, right? But you can't tell me after watching all of the Paul W. Anderson Resident Evil, the Monster Hunter, my God, it's 40% of Rotten Tomatoes. Have you played the game before watching the movie? It has nothing to do with the game. It's, for me, one of the worst ever. And you still put Borderlands under that. There's a problem there. Because Borderlands, there's big troubles on the actors. On Tiny Tina, so. More like Jamie Lee Curtis as Dr. Tannis. She has no idea what she's doing in this movie. She's cruising through this movie like, what am I doing here? Basically, that's what's happening. So just to give you a bit of the speech of the movie, right, how it works. And I'm not going to spoil anything because if you played Borderlands 1, mainly 1, maybe a bit of 2 or 3, there's no spoiler to be made. But the movie goes like this. Tiny Tina is a daughter of Atlas, because in the world of Borderlands, there's at least 3 big corpo, Atlas, Hyperion, and Dal. I don't recall her being the daughter of Atlas, but maybe I just missed that. Anyway, no, she's not, right? Yeah, we'll agree on this. So Tiny Tina's character, I agree, that's a really weird spin on it. That was my first thing about this. But anyway, in this, she's a daughter of Atlas, and basically Atlas CEO cloned her from the blood of, remember, the alien civilization who created the vault, but Iridian maybe, I think Iridians. And she would be the key to open the vault. Because as Borderlands, the whole thing is the crappy planet Pandora has a vault of alien technology, and it's a motherload of everything you really want to make your life better. And the point is to find a way to the vault and open the vault. And Tiny Tina would be the key. Okay, that's weird. It's an adaptation, so fair enough, right? And then you get Lilith, which is your psychic on the first game, which is in this case a bounty hunter, which is charged by Atlas to find Tina. Of course, we know that Atlas is a bad guy. They try to tell you that he's a very concerned father, but the illusion will last about 2.5 seconds. And I'm a bit optimistic on that. And of course, as soon as she finds a girl, he's bringing the lenses. I don't know the translation, if you guys remember, in English, because for me it's crimson lenses, but his private army to retrieve the girl, open the vault, basically. That's how it is. And in there you have Roland, which is coming from Borderlands 2 or 3, I can't recall, who is a great character in the game, who's here come really without any motivation. I can't remember if there's any motivation for him to rescue Tina in this movie, which is one of the issue really, because really Roland he's a great character, but he comes a bit out of nowhere. So he rescue Tina from Atlas and try to escape. And that's how the bond is a bond of 4, because you always have 4 characters when you play Borderlands. You're gonna get together. I have to say that Jack Black as Claptrap is fantastic, because Claptrap is an absolutely annoying little piece of bin trash that you want to slap the whole time in the game. Exactly the same in the movie. That's the best character ever. You really want to slap him absolutely all the time. That's what happens. Best character. Really, it's okay because she's a great actress. As I said, Tina, the big bad guy. I can't recall how you call them in English. Apologies. But the nasty guy with the mask is there. Yeah, we can say he's there. So it's basically all about him, because I don't think he has 1 or 2 lines in the whole movie. So that's fun to have him. But why I say it's not a bad adaptation, because you see that in the whole universe, apart from the casting and the writing is really below par, right? That's a big issue of the movie. But everything around it is really well transcribed. I really saw Borderlands 1 when Lilith's coming down on the container, the whole starting area when she gets the buggy. That's the exact road that you have in the game. There's a lot of references at the universe. The costumes, everything has been made with love. Really, you can feel that the guy has played the game and liked it. There's really a problem on the writing of the script, and I agree with you, and maybe a bit on the cast. Jamie Lee Curtis, again, I just can't get over that. But honestly, it's not a bad movie, and please argue with me. Tell me why. What's really so wrong with this movie that it has to be classified under Monster Hunter or the latest Resident Evil movie saga, or even the latest Return to Raccoon City, which was horrendous, that it was hard for me to stay in the cinema. Tell me, does it really deserve this hate. Because right now, I just feel that there's a big hate. Everybody is riding on the wave of let's hate Borderlands because it's fun. Like social media wave, cancel generation, stuff like this. And it's really not fair for this movie for me. I really don't find it fair. So yeah, if you guys, I don't think you guys have played Borderlands or watched the movie or both. Did you have any opinion on this?
I have not seen the movie. I played Borderlands 2. I have not played the first one. I played Tiny Tina's Wonderland, which I mean has nothing to do with the course of the movies. From what I've heard and seen in spoilers, I think the biggest issue is it felt like the game was not made by people who played the games, but rather made by people who heard an elevator pitch for the games. And so you have a lot of the same characters in name, but the story is completely different. Their relationships to each other are completely different.
Yeah.
But yeah, from what I've heard, it sounded like basically somebody got an elevator pitch and they're like, oh yeah, so there's this guy rolling and there's this funny little girl, Tiny Tina, and blah, 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 blah. Got that, went and watched a trailer of what it should look like, and then was like, okay, put those together about what they had in their imagination, what Borderlands is, based on the humor they saw in the trailer and the elevator pitch description of the story they got. And from what I've heard, a lot of people's issue with it is that these characters don't actually, they're the same in name and somewhat in appearance to the characters in the game, but their writing is very different. The way they interact with each other is extremely different. And the story is completely different. So, yeah.
So I agree 100% with you. It feels like this movie has been made with two people, one taking care of the visual and the recreation of the world, and one who wrote the story. And the one who wrote the story really made a crappy job at that. That they don't have the same relationship and everything, I'm fine with it in the fact that you are doing a 1.5 hour movie based on 3 very long games. And for people who don't remember, in Borderlands 1, there's almost no story. It's just take your gun and shoot. Stories start appearing from Borderlands 2 and interactions between everything. So yes, I agree with this. Really, it doesn't make sense. Was it rushed? Yes, I think they really tried to say, how can we make this fit together? So Roland has a very big backstory with the Crimson Lance and all of this. How can we put them together in this movie? They really tried to, like force stuff which has nothing to do or would deserve more, really. Like 1.5 hours just is not enough to treat everything together. And it's really feel like they tried to put puzzle piece together and it just doesn't fit, but let's force it. That's fine. It doesn't fit the planks. Oh, I'm gonna make it force it. Yes, that's really, the script is crap. Let's say it. Yes, I agree. The script is crap. But just for the world, it deserves a bit of recognition at least, which I have not seen anywhere.
Yeah, Noble Cooper's in the chat here. They made Uncharted. How off could it possibly be?
Uncharted, yes. I forgot about this one. See? Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like we're back to the movie adaptations made by Hollywood, not by gamers.
Oh, yeah.
There are a bunch of stuff that's happening this week, and I think the thing that really caught my attention was Ubisoft. And people were disappointed, of course. Star Wars Outlaws released. Adam covered this story a bit last week, I believe, or a week ago, however long ago. The reception to Star Wars Outlaws has not been great. Speaking of Warhammer Space Marine 2, you see these amazing Instagram reels and YouTube shorts all the time now. And so I was trying to avoid any, similar to Antoine, Warhammer 2 spoilers. And unfortunately, it's all over my reels. So I'm like, whatever, okay, I'm not going to be playing this anytime soon. If you were an Ubisoft fan, you might have been disappointed by Star Wars Outlaws. And of course, Ubisoft shareholders were disappointed as well. Star Wars Outlaws has not performed well review-wise. The reviews have been between okay to good, nothing amazing. And then, of course, social media has, of course, made fun of it. You've seen loads of buggy short videos. You've seen loads of videos where, oh my God, I paid $140 to get this experience. Or I paid $110. And at first, because I have a problem with sarcasm, oh my God, these guys are like so happy that they paid $110 for this game until I thought about it. I'm like, oh yeah, no, they're making fun of Star Wars. Inside the inner workings of Ubisoft this week, people are like, okay, we need to take this company private. So if you're an investor or you're somebody who invests in companies or you really need, you've seen this, right? Where people are like, okay, Elon Musk took X or Twitter private, right? So when you take a company private, all it means is that basically you buy all the shares out. You say, hey, Adam, Antoine, give me your shares. I will pay you X amount of money for it. And now this company is mine. So of course, in the case of Elon Musk, right, I think he's 20% of X, and a bunch of it is owned by Saudi Arabia and a bunch of other banks. So what would happen with Ubisoft is, yeah, it wouldn't be just one person, right? I believe Ubisoft is owned by a family or a family and a bunch of other people. So what they want is just to take it private, and instead of being owned by shareholders and this family, it would just be a handful of people. And to me, I think this is a good sign because it could mean that with the shareholders, okay, every year you need to release a new game and you need to really do live service because we want money. We want return on our investment. With it being private, maybe we could go back to it being every 2 years or every 3 years. We could have an Assassin's Creed game instead of it being every year. And people could attribute the yearly cycle to maybe the degradation of the games or to Star Wars Outlaws being Far Cry in space or something like that. There are lots of different comments thrown around. So it could be a return to say, hey, we want to make quality games. And making games is a long-term income play, right? It's not about every year generating money. It's going to be about, hey, we make this game and we're going to support it. We're going to make DLCs. We're going to make extra content. We're going to make a Far Cry Blood Dragon, right? Like that game was universally loved. Instead of being like, okay, we're making Assassin's Creed. We're making Far Cry 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're making this live service game. We're making that live service game. X-Defiant, right? X-Defiant, I'm very sure it's going to crash and burn very soon. Private could be very good. It also could be just more of the same, right? If these investors like, okay, now we're private. Now we only want to make these kinds of games. And as Adam mentioned last time, Star Wars Outlaws was a bit too, quote unquote, woke, which I disagree with. I think we need more women characters in games, less dudes. I'm sorry. We've had 41 years of dudes since I've been playing games since the 80s. We don't need more guys in games. So that is it. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Do you think Ubisoft should go private? Do you think private will change anything at all? If not, I'd like to know. And now I will cut the fan on.
I'm always a fan of privately owned companies, to be honest. Look at just how well Steam is doing, right? Because they're not publicly traded. One of the biggest fears I've seen on the internet in the last few days is just a lot of people are just, for some reason it blew up that people are saying Gavin's getting old in age and so he's not always going to be around. What happens when he's gone? Is there going to be a successor, or is it going to go public? And if it goes public, is it still going to be Steam, or is it going to start, once you have shareholders, you got to start chasing that money to keep those shareholders happy. When it's private, you can have somebody saying, that's good enough. I don't need more. I have what I want and we're fine. So I think with privately controlled companies, it's a lot easier to have vision. I think with shareholders, it's a mob mentality in a sense, whereas with private, you can be like, this is the vision. This is what we're going for. I personally think that Ubisoft going private is not necessarily a bad thing. I could definitely see there being a lot of growing pains going in that direction. But yeah, me personally, I think, you know what? Maybe it's not so bad. So I don't know. What do you think, Antoine?
Definitely that would be a good thing for the, Ubisoft is one of these big companies which had lots of trouble with toxic like work environment, crunch time, all of this. And as you said, it's really driven by the fact that you need to release an Assassin's Creed every year and you need to be completely unreasonable with your project timeline. And if you are private, you can say, as you said, Krian, take your time, make a quality game. And players like us would be, yes, please take your time, make a quality game. We don't like fast food game every year. That's just forgettable games. And we don't like forgettable games. Each new game, it's quite expensive right away. And we like to have a nice, very good marketing experience. So maybe private is the way to go. I don't know, future will tell, but that's definitely a good move. For me, at least.
Adam, tell us PS5 Pro, because it is still happening on Threads and it is irritating me.
Girls Club, no boys allowed. Yeah, that's what a lot of people were complaining about with Noble Cooper left a comment here. That's what Korean is talking about, where a lot of people are saying like, oh, they're going woke and whatnot. I think everybody should be represented. I think we just need more games, but that's a different conversation. So we're going into PS Pro time now. So PS Pro was revealed. It was not released. It is not going to be released for some time yet, but it was revealed by Mark Cerny, who I apparently was calling Mark Kearney, and I was wrong, but now I know how to pronounce it correctly. So thank God for that. Anyway, he came out and he said that we've been doing the research. We've been looking at how PlayStation players play, and we have discovered that roughly 3/4 of the time, or a little bit over maybe, players are choosing performance over fidelity. So when we wanted to build the PlayStation 5 Pro, that's what we had in mind. We were looking at, do players want the crisper graphics, or did the players want the smoother frame rate? And that was going to guide our decisions in how we designed the PS5 Pro. And it looks like 3/4 of the time, people are choosing that performance mode. So they said, that's the direction that we're going to go in. So they have upgraded the original base PS3 using what they call the Big Three, which is supposedly able to nearly double the power over the base PS5. And the Big Three are an upgraded GPU, advanced ray tracing, and AI-driven upscaling. So in terms of the GPU, they have added 67% more compute units to it. So it's able to compute quite a bit more. It's also, the RAM is 28% faster, and the result should be roughly up to 45% faster rendering. So you're able to get stuff out about 45% faster. They've also done some streamlined ray tracing. So now they have what they call advanced ray tracing. So that should supposedly double or up to triple the speeds of the PS5. They didn't really go into how they did that, but that's what they're saying, is that double is what they're getting most of the time, but in certain games, you might even be able to get up to triple. And then the third one is AI-driven upscaling. So what they did for this is they actually created custom hardware for machine learning specifically for this. And then they gave that an AI library that they call the PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution, or PSSR. And so what will happen is the AI will look at a frame, and it'll say, okay, we're going to blow up this frame. Obviously, when we do that, we're going to have extra pixels in places. So I'm going to look at this picture, and looking at previous games, I'm using my machine learning. I'm going to predict what would have been in that pixel had this been a higher resolution image. And so, because this is not done in the graphics part, it doesn't pull out of it's able to process this thing on its own. So because of that, it's able to upscale things predictably. So if you're thinking that's not actually the picture, you're right, it's not. But that's what AI-driven upscaling is, and a lot of people use it. It should be fine. It's also getting a PS5 Pro game boost for certain games. This should stabilize or improve the performance of supported PS4 or PS5 games. Games that have this will be able to, you're going to get enhanced image quality on some PS4 games. And they're going to, and this will apply to more than 8,500 backwards compatible PS4 games. So if you're playing some of these older games, you're going to get an enhanced image quality, probably some of that from that AI upscaling. And yeah, so you're going to be able to run your PS4 games even smoother than they are on the PS5, which is even smoother than the PS5 Pro, or the PS4 Pro, which is even smoother than the PS4. So they're going to be running really well. Other than that, it's also going to support Wi-Fi 7. They did say in territories where Wi-Fi 7 is commonly used. So I guess in territories where maybe they don't use Wi-Fi 7, maybe it's not going to have that. I don't know why they included that. Like, why does not every PS5 Pro have Wi-Fi 7? I don't know. Maybe that was just a weird wording thing. VRR and 8K gaming. So the PS5, when it was originally released, had a little 8K gaming sticker on it. Turns out there's only one game that even uses it. It's a really basic game. It doesn't really need 8K. But yeah, but this, supposedly the PS5 Pro will support 8K gaming. In what capacity is a very good question. We'll have to wait and see. And yeah, and then it's going to come with 2 terabytes of SSD, which is great because the original PS5 came with one terabyte, and I upgraded mine with another 2, so mine has 3 now. And when I was just the 1 terabyte, I was definitely having to be selective about which games I installed. And since moving up to 2 terabytes, I have not had to select anything. I could just be lazy and not uninstall any of my games. I'm trying to keep in a good habit of doing it, but I haven't had to. So yeah, and then the multiple games are getting a boost. Multiple PS5 games. They showed off Spider-Man 2, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Horizon Forbidden West, Last of Us 2, Demon's Souls, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, Dragon's Dogma, Assassin's Creed Shadows. Lots of games are going to be getting a boost from this. They're going to be able to go a little bit better. And it was really interesting to see because I watched it live. And personally, I think there are things they could have improved on in the presentation, but I'll get into that in a bit. But prior to it going live, looking at the chat, everyone was like, yeah, PS5, let's go. Everyone's super excited. Everyone's pumped. And then you hit the image of the pricing, and the chat just turned on a dime. It was just, everyone was like, yeah. And then when they started showing stuff, they're like, okay, this is great, but come on. And then they released the price and it just, boom, went straight down. So in the US, it's going to be $6.99. In the UK, it's going to be £6.99. I guess I should say $699 since I'm going to use everyone else's currency. In Europe, it's going to be €799, and it will be 119,980 yen in Japan. However, it does have a little thing next to the yen saying including tax. I've heard that people saying the euro price also includes tax. The US price does not. So even though it looks like it's 700 US, that is not including tax. Whereas in the euro, it's exactly $799. It's not going to be any more because tax is already included, supposedly. There is a big discrepancy between the price in the US and the price in Europe and Japan. But part of that is made up by tax. Not all of it. It still is cheaper in the US, which is an odd choice. But yeah. Also, it doesn't come with a vertical stand like the current PS4 iteration when they did the kind of redo, the redux, I guess you could call it, of the PS5. They stopped including a stand, which I think is an odd choice because it's just a piece of plastic. How expensive could that possibly be? That's nickel and diming right there. It also is a diskless system. So like the new iteration of the PS5, where it is a diskless thing, but you can add on the disk drive. It's the same thing, and you could use the same disk drive. So the same disk drive that works with the current iteration of the PS5 will work with the PS5 Pro. Same with the vertical stand. It looks like the dimensions of the PS5 Pro are identical to the PS5. So the only real difference are those little fins on the outside that you're going to notice. Everything on the inside obviously is a little bit different, but the outside is basically the same. So this is going to launch on November 7th. If you want to pre-order it, you can pre-order it starting September 26th at direct.playstation.com or participating retailers in territories where direct.playstation.com is not available. So that's where you can go on September 26th. And then you should be able to pre-order it anywhere starting October 6th. So if you want to pre-order it on September 26th, you have to order it from PlayStation directly, and then you can pre-order it from other retailers. You have to wait for October 6th. So going into that, I personally was not very impressed by the presentation. For one, it was extremely short. It's about 9 minutes long. And when it came out, he's talking about all this technical stuff, and I'm like, show me what I want to see. Show me the new games. And he spends the first part talking about what made PlayStation 5 successful. I know what made PlayStation 5 successful. That's why I'm playing a PlayStation 5. You don't need to remind me. And then he shows these comparisons between the original PlayStation 5 base running and then the PS5 Pro. But the thing is, I'm watching this on my phone, right? And I'm sure a lot of other people are too. And other people are probably watching on their PC on a bigger screen. But YouTube, you're streaming it. You're not getting the best quality picture. You know, it might be in 4K or whatever, but with streaming, there is some compression there. So playing these two videos side by side, it's okay. Look how much crisper it is. I can't tell because the YouTube compression has just undone all the work that catered to this. So I thought that was an odd choice that they were just showing it like that. If it were me, what I probably would have done is I probably would have said, okay, for people who are maybe watching on small screens or whatever, let me show you exactly what I mean. And then show a side-by-side comparison of the PS5 and the PS5 Pro running, but slow it down. Say, okay, we're going to slow this down. And then you can see the frame rates ticking past. We're going to slow this down to maybe 10 frames a second for the PS5 and then 20 frames a second for the PS5 Pro. This is the difference. When I slow it down, it's easier to see. So do that, or zoom in on things. They did at one point zoom in on a crowd and Ratchet and Clank, and I went and I downloaded the video, and which is what we are playing now on the live show. And if you watch that, if you download it and watch it, you can see there's a slight difference. But even that, I don't think is full, like the full 4K version of the video. So you can see a difference, but I would have found maybe a better way to present it, because the way that they showed it, especially if people are like watching on their phones or whatever, if they're on the, but they're not going to be able to see that. And so you almost showed me nothing here. I also would have shown some new games or something. It's literally just the PS5 Pro for 9 minutes, and then it's okay, we're done. And that seemed more like an advertisement than a reveal. So I don't know. I would have done more with the reveal. I would have made it a bigger event, not just say, here's our new product, we're done. Okay. I would have shown some new games if they had it, possibly. Otherwise, supposedly we are getting a showcase later this month. I would have just waited for the showcase and put it at the end as our one more thing, get people excited about games, and then, oh, look, and now you can put that at the end. That's what I probably would have done. Or supposedly there's a new PlayStation controller, which has a better battery life. You could have thrown at least that in there. Or supposedly there are rumors that PlayStation is coming up with a new PSP, basically, or I guess you could call it the PSP 3, the PSP, I don't know. But they're coming up with a new PSP, which is supposed to compete with the likes of Steam Deck and whatnot. And supposedly the rumor is that this is basically a PlayStation 4 portable, and it will play all PlayStation 4 games natively, and maybe a few select PS5 games. I don't know if that just means PS5 games that are cross-platform or not. But supposedly that is in the works. If they had revealed that as well, I probably would have been much happier with the presentation, especially because everything that the PS5 Pro was revealed was basically just, hey, all those rumors you've been hearing, every one of them is exactly true. That's it. Nothing new. So it's just confirmed the rumors. You didn't really show me anything amazing to blow me away. So something like that would have been surprising. I know it's harder to do with leaks and stuff like that. So I get that could be harder to do, but I personally was a little bit disappointed in the show. I thought it was a bit lackluster, and I am not convinced to buy a PS5 Pro by any means. My PS5 is going to run just fine. But what do you guys think? Not just you in the crowd, but Korean and Antoine as well. What do you guys think here?
Okay, I'm going to start first. And I can't blame them for the price, simply because it has always been an industry practice to sell the hardware, so the console, at a loss. So even at this price, it's likely a loss for Sony, and they always make their money on the games. But again, if we are talking, I'm French, so I'm going to take the euro price, €800 plus add in the 60 for the disc and the plastic stand. That's nearly 1,300 Canadian dollars. Can have a pretty decent PC. Okay, you're not gonna play Cyberpunk on Ultra on your PC, but you open the door to Steam. You open the door to PC Game Pass. You open the door to mods. You open the door to a lot of things that the PS does not have. So to exchange all of this for graphics, and okay, I haven't played on the PS5 and everything, but for me, you have the 1Ks and 4Ks and 8K, and there's so many pixels. At some point, me with my glasses that I don't see very well, do you even see really the upgrade? Does the upgrade really cost €800? If it's just for a minor upgrade like this, anyway, I haven't been a PlayStation fan or like a console fan, to be honest, because I used to love my PS1. But I haven't been a console fan since I got my PC. And at this price, become a PC gamer, that would be much better for you, because you take a box which is completely upgradable, right? You buy a 1,300 computer for the price of a PS5. Over the year, you change your GPU, you change your PS, you change everything in there, and then you can play a Cyberpunk at Ultra. Your choice. It's just, I can understand why people are like, yeah, that's too expensive. Nice try. Too expensive.
Yeah, we were talking on the Discord. We actually had a discussion in the Discord for once. We don't usually get those, but we were talking about it, talking with Noble Cooper about it, and we agree that this definitely, it doesn't seem, I think part of the issue that a lot of people don't like with it is a lot of people want to get a bigger system, but this is not the standard system. This is not the PlayStation for the masses. This is a luxury premium product. This is, in terms of a lot of these live service games, this is for the whales. This is not for your common player, but the common player wants it. And so when they see that price tag, they're like, no, there's no way I'm getting that. But it's technically not for you. It's so in that sense, it is really odd. But I completely agree with the, are you even going to notice the upgrade? Like, it is better, but how much will you notice? Especially people our age, as our eyesight starts to go. When I played Final Fantasy 16, I was trying to record video. So I was messing with the video settings, and I set the PlayStation 5 to only display at 1080p because for whatever reason, it was able to record. It wasn't able to record at 4K or something. I don't remember. But I accidentally set it that like only display at 1080p. And then I was playing the game. I played the entire game and I forgot. I didn't even realize I was playing in 1080p and not 4K. So I didn't even notice the difference. Yeah, again, like for me, it doesn't seem like it's worth the upgrade for me because I'm like, I'm probably not even going to notice it. It's the same thing with headsets. People are like, oh, these headphones are so good. And I always get the medium quality ones because I'm like, I'm not an audiophile. I can't tell the difference really. The medium ones are fine for me. Yeah. But what about you, Korean? I'm sure you've got some technical information that maybe Antoine and I are lacking.
Not necessarily, but I just like, to me, I saw this story and a bunch of like PC Gamer came out defending the PS5 Pro. Then people are in the wrong in a sense. Team does that I've been doing on threads. It's like people have been complaining about this price. Are you daft? Like, really? I spent to get a 4K computer gaming monitor, right? This was way back when 4K just came out. I spent $1,200, double the price of my graphics card, right? Just for a 4K monitor as a PC gamer, right? And now, of course, you can buy a 4K TV, but a 4K TV, in order to get a 4K 120 FPS TV, you're not going to pay $500. You're still paying $1,000 for a 4K TV, right? So to me, it's like ridiculous. Like $700, 800 euros is cheap for a 4K 120 FPS device, right? You can't, the money we spent on our graphics card, right? Like I spent, how much did we spend? I forgot, like $500-600 just for the graphics card. You can't build a 4K 128 FPS gaming machine for that price. Impossible. I saw a guy on Reddit who shared this Euro price of 860 euros, but he had a 650 watt power supply with a 1 terabyte hard drive, not even an SSD. Games don't run on hard drives anymore. You need an SSD. And 650 watt is the bare minimum you need for an AMD system. The bare minimum. You'll run, like your computer will shut down with a 650 watt power supply playing certain games just because it uses too much power. It's like people put all this theories that yes, you can build a computer. No, you can't. You can build it, but it'll run 50% of the time or 60% of the time. Wait till the next Cyberpunk comes out or something else comes out. So I understand why people wanted a cheap device, but look, this is the reality of 2024 that we live in. Hardware is expensive. If you're not Apple, you're not going to be able to buy 2 million chips from TSMC and then get it at a lower price. You don't have the cash for that. You don't have $102 billion in cash, right? Sony doesn't have that money. So of course, right, they have to charge more money because they don't get the first allotment, which always goes to Apple because Apple is a $1 trillion company. They're not getting the second allotment, which goes to AMD and Intel, of course, because they're selling all the other stuff. And for all the Steam Decks and the Asus ROG Allies and all that sort of stuff. So it's Sony can't afford to keep selling, right? This is 2024 and they need to make money and they can't afford to taking a $200-300 loss per PS5. It's all this craziness is just from people being not knowing enough. And to me, it bothers me because look, building a computer is all good and great. I remember when the PS5 was coming, I'm like, Adam, I'm gonna get a PS5. And I didn't, which was really stupid because honestly, like I have to change out this motherboard, right? And in order to change out the motherboard of my computer, because it's lasted 5 years, but now I have one usable USB port on my computer, it's going to take me at least 10 to 12 hours to fix everything again. Remove the motherboard, put in the new motherboard, put in the cooling, plug everything back in, reinstall Windows, reinstall motherboard drivers, reinstall all the software. And every time you install, to be the best, safest way possible, you have to restart your computer. Install something else, restart your computer. No, that's not fun. Pay your 800 euros, buy a PlayStation 5, save yours. Do not build computers anymore. It's over.
Oh, you are going to make so many people mad.
Keep me mad. I learned the lesson. I love building computers, but no, it's not for anyone. Don't even buy a build computer, because look at Antoine has so much hassle with his computer, right? You've had hassles with yours computer. I've had recent hassles. I went through 2 power supplies, so like $200 worth of power supplies in the last 3 years. It's, as a middle-aged gamer, you don't need the stress. Pay the extra money.
Yeah, I figured out was finally the issue with my computer and why it kept crashing. It was Armory Crate, of all things.
Yes.
I had to uninstall Armory Crate, and then it was like, oh yeah, everything's fine now.
Armory Crate has a horrible reputation. Is this wonderful Armory Crate bad?
Yeah. But yeah, we got Noble Cooper in the chat here, and he's like, get that PC talk away. We are not a people of reason. We are driven by emotion. But yeah, I've always thought the argument that you could build a PC for equal is just ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense on just a basic level. Anything that's mass produced is going to be cheaper. And computers, that's why if you could get a pre-built computer, yeah, it's probably more expensive than building your own. But getting a pre-built computer is probably cheaper than building that exact pre-built computer, unless you're getting sales. Just because they can manufacture them in mass and build like 50 of them at once. And they're just like, well, this is not easier. That's just industrialization. But yeah, I've seen a lot of people online with they're like, I love how people will tell you you can build a computer just as powerful as the PS5 for just as cheap, and all you have to do is go dumpster diving. And it's like, wait for the whales to upgrade and then sell everything at a loss. Just basically buy all used parts from people that were using these before. So it can be done. But yeah, it's not as easy as walk into a store and buy it. It's wait months and be very picky and keep your eyes out for every possible sale you possibly can. And then, yeah, you can do it. But it's a lot more work. But yeah, I think we're in a weird spot right now. I think a lot of people do want that instant gratification, and money's tight. It's tough for everyone. The inflation's gone up. I've heard it's slowing down, but in Japan, I think is it speeding up in Japan, or it's really crazy in Japan. China's growth is slowing down, so they're not getting the growth that they once had. Products are not as cheap as they used to be. So just across the board, everything is getting more expensive, and cost of living is going up, and people aren't making more. So I can see, like, from an emotional standpoint, you see that and you're like, oh my God, like, how do I keep up? There is that how do I keep up feeling. So I understand some of the anger, but I do think a lot of it is misplaced.
Wonderful. Interesting show today. Lots of news. It is fewer stories than you guys might be used to. I apologize. That being said, as I mentioned last week, we are moving to Tuesday. So Antoine has time to pick up his kids and be the amazing dad that he is. Pick them up or take them everywhere. Both.
Take them to activities, yeah.
Take them to activities, yes. So stay tuned for us next week, Tuesday, at the same time, 9 a.m. Taiwan time in the morning, 9 p.m. Canadian time in the evening. And
Monday
that will
Canadian time.
Sorry?
Monday, yeah.
Monday Canadian.
Monday Canadian time. Yes. Oh, thank you. Yes, and then that will be the foreseeable schedule going forward. I will be on holiday next week in Korea, so there might be some issues with the videos, but I'll talk about it to Adam and Antoine offline. As always, thank you guys for watching and supporting. Thank you guys for following us. We're on our way to 300 followers on Threads. So wonderful. Stay tuned for Adam's pictures that he just shared with me online. So those are going to be cool as well. And then we will see you guys next week.
Yeah, bye.